So welcome to our Topanga Town Council November 2024 public meeting. Our special guest today was the last minute addition is Caltrans, who will be updating us or giving us sort of an overview of an upcoming repaving project. So that we're going to start on 6:30, but we're going to start off with an update from our first responders about fire, traffic, and crime in the area. So let's go ahead and go around and introduce yourselves. I'm Terry Carrier, President of Topanga Town Council.
I'm also on the board of the Town Council.
I'm Cody Sturgis. I'm the Public Information Officer for CHP West Bend.
Deputy Rick Baldy, Malibu Sheriff Station.
Roger Pugliese, Town Council, TAS, Chamber of Commerce, Trash Warriors. What did I leave out?
Everything.
Will Alford, Topanga Trash Warriors, Topanga Association for Scenic Community, and Orson Watch.
Resident.
Robert Smith, resident.
And Craig Smith. I'm Seth Hill, live over here on the Encina. I'm just a nosy neighbor.
All right, we're back there.
Michael Como with Caltrans.
My name is Jim Conn from Caltrans.
I'm Jane Hoover from Topanga Home.
Neil Shaw, I'm resident.
I'm sorry, I'll see you, please back.
I'm Claire from Getting Mecca. Oh, Teddy and Andy Leonard up on Moose Tank.
I'll be ready.
Village resident. We got resident. With Potts, self unemployed.
Ashley Abram, manager of the Topanga Library.
Okay, hi, I'm Anna. I live on Baden Drive. Okay, and then Tam, did you have?
Tam Taylor from the Town Council Emeritus and Canyon Secret.
Phenomenal. Okay, well, we want to go ahead and get through everything on the agenda. So Deputy Baldy, if you don't mind starting.
Or TV.
So I'm gonna give you a crime stats for the month of October. For October, you had a total of 6 Part 1 crimes, 3 assaults, 1 burglary, and 2 thefts. That puts your total at 33 total Part 1 crimes. And that compares to last year, you had 61 at this time for a minus 45%.
Oh, great. Trending.
Good so far, yeah. So, yeah, minus, right? Better than the plus. I'll just touch on a couple highlights on some of those crimes. So one assault was at the general store between 2, I guess, acquaintances, got into a fight. Another was with Greenleaf. 2 people that lived together also got into a fight. Stolen, Bobcat was stolen along with the attachment, and the residential burglary appeared to be related to a landlord-tenant issue, and there was an arrest made in that, and there was also arrest made in one of the assaults. With that, I just want to remind you guys the holiday season's coming up, so if you're out shopping, make sure you're keeping aware of your surroundings. If you're going shopping for presents, try not to leave them in the car too long. Secure them in the trunk at least so they're not visible. If you're going on vacation, make sure your house is secure. Try to have a house sitter or something like that to make sure your house is unoccupied for a long period of time. But other than that, everything's good. We did monitor the mountain fire last 2 weeks ago now because of the wind pattern. Thankfully, it flew above us, but we did have that large fire in Malibu. Maybe Drew can touch on when he gets here, but I believe there's 1 structure loss and 5 damage. I'm sure he says some more, but with that, I'll take some questions.
Quick question on that, and Drew, if he gets here, hopefully he does, we'll address it, but in case he doesn't, let me ask you.
Yeah.
So with that sort of last minute resident-only road closure, in the past, historically, I think it was the sheriff's department who would have the say to declare kind of an emergency like that, but now it might be sort of OEM, it got moved out of the sheriff, or?
So I know with that, maybe I know my captain was in contact with CHP,
Yeah.
and together they came up with the decision to do the residents only closing.
Okay. All right, so that's how that came about. Now, you can imagine there was well, in some, I thought it was bold and brave, and, you know, in some ways a good idea, but there was a lot of basically, not so much blowback, but sort of complaint or concern from the community about why they couldn't get more of a heads up. In the future, if something like this is done, what are you aiming for in terms of giving people advance notice? I know it's come on you quickly as well, but like, what are we looking at?
As far as like a time frame?
Yeah, could we try to give people maybe a day, 24 hours?
So I was gonna look at community feedback. But,
Yeah.
I know when I was told about it, like I just had to put out the press release that day, so it came from, I think, one of our departments, I believe it came from Office of Emergency Management. It came to both our departments and then it got sent out, but it was fairly sudden, I do know that. But that's kind of feedback I wanted to, here's what you guys thought about the closure and, you know, what could be done better. And then I can bring that to my opinion.
Roger?
Yeah.
You were first.
You want to go first?
Well, I just want to say, as a resident with children, almost, I was really grateful for the closure of the kitchen. I was really grateful for the protection from accidents, emissions, and dangerous driving. It was incredibly helpful to feel that we didn't have to take on the extra burden of traffic and risk of driving on top of anything. I realized that it wasn't that bad. But personally, I thought it was really helpful. And moving to school into the valley, so that we didn't have the largest, you know, basically group of underage individuals. We had the largest group of anybody in the canyon, a bunch of children as young as 4. I don't have kids at that school anymore, but I thought that was extremely prudent. Because then I can focus on my, otherwise, honestly.
Can you guys hear okay?
I'm just saying, I thought having the school out of the canyon was really prudent, and all those children could focus on learning and not have parents, as I was, worried about their elementary age kids getting out of the canyon. I'm sure that was inconvenient, but from a safety and a focus point of view, and the teachers who many of whom are coming, I thought it was really forward-looking, if challenging. Yeah, we're talking about the residents-only road closure that happened last week, so just in case you didn't, I'm sure there were challenges.
I'll go after Roger if there's time.
Oh, great, great, go ahead, Raj.
I'm next. I want to say, I want to thank you for doing that. It should happen more often as far as I'm concerned. But there's a problem still, and that is on Old Topanga.
Okay, anyone else have okay,
Yeah, we really appreciated the road being closed as well, but, we're up off of, Loose Tank and Corsham by Alta, and there's a cut through from Calabasas, and so many people know that cut through, and it was like increased traffic for us. So people from the valley were coming up and cutting through, and I tried to get through to the CHP and to the sheriff and to the fire department, and I got the runaround. I mean, we would like for that to be closed as well, because, it was crazy.
is that under discussion? Do you know? Is that-
I received a call about the area. Once they gave this, that's right where Calabasas is sitting, so I think we have to discuss.
Bringing that to-
That's who is gonna take around that.
Got it. All right, so they'll look into it, but because of the jurisdictional issues, it may or may not be possible for them to address it. But it's good to bring it up. Thank you. Do look into it. I'd be curious to know. I want to follow up on that.
If I may just
Yeah.
make one point out, I mean, Roger, the trash warriors can speak to this much better than I can. But I have a little strip of land along Topanga Town Boulevard, which is probably a frontage of about 100 yards of that, this is up the road. The number of cigarette butts that I pick up on a weekly basis in front of my property, the trash warriors are probably picking up cigarette butts all the time.
We don't do your strip.
No, that's fine. But my point is, if there's about 33,000 vehicles traveling through the canyon daily, and I understand the impact that it has on the businesses, and I respect that too. But it's not worth the risk to burn down the canyon with, like, individuals that are not being vigilant or
Yeah.
responsible. Because they're just passing through the canyon as commuters, and they throw their cigarette butts out, and I'm picking them up as is the trash groups too.
I'm afraid to ask you, have you ever caught one that was like smoldering?
Yes.
Oh my
sure.
gosh, okay. What is, I know we have technically laws about that, but like, has anyone ever cited or found somebody plus in that?
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing. I think it's what 8 hours of community service as well as responsive. Yeah, that's a big one if you get caught doing it, but that's the thing, if you caught doing it.
Yeah, you have to be caught by one of us, but if someone sees it and you're able to get a license plate, you can let me know. I can send out a letter to that.
He's been really proactive on that because technically the law doesn't allow them to make arrests, like if they don't actively see it, and we can't capture things on video yet. There are laws around that as well. But like he said, one thing we can do is if you see somebody do it from a car and you write down their license plate, he has and will actually send a letter to the registered owner of that vehicle and be like, hey, we saw that. Just so you know, this is very illegal and very dangerous. So he will be very active on that.
Yeah, I know with Arson Watch, I had a guy at Mulholland and Topanga smoking, and I stopped him, but that was only one for me, but I know up on Stunt, they smoke a lot. So to piggyback on what you said, I think the cigarette butts seem to be a larger danger than anything.
I will say because of that, I put y'all's efforts into our Firewise database. That I'm gonna do a quick reminder, public service announcement right now. But all that work you guys do, I see that as invaluable and vital to keeping the community safe and protected from a Firewise standpoint. So on that note, I just want to just put it out there. Everyone knows that we're a Firewise community, right? Which means that we do a number of things, both at the entity, organizational level, as well as the individual level, to qualify for a certain number of points so that our community is recognized by the insurance industry as being relatively safe. And we get a little discount from our insurers for that. So I'm mentioning that, A, so you know the program exists, B, you know we're participating in it, and C, so you'll go to our website and submit your info, because the way that we get those points is by people like you submitting your info online. It's anonymized, so you don't have to put your name. And then we submit it to CAL FIRE and the NFPA, and then they give us that designation. So be sure to do it. I have to send it in 2 days. So get your info in if you haven't already. Okay.
And it's right here.
Yes, and it's the info is right under here. Okay. Any other questions, or should we move on to a question? Oh, go for it.
Oh, either sheriff or CHP, the accident that left a woman severely injured, the head-on collision about 3 weeks ago, right here between the library and Schoolhouse Road. What happened?
So as far as the accident goes, I haven't heard any details about it, but
what I
If you
understood
give me
was
the
that a
date and
tow
time,
truck
I can look
driver
into it.
came into her lane and it was a head-on collision. Well, sternum, her leg. And this is happening more and more and more, and again, is people going around across the yellow line, and I've seen it. Totally blind birds, they're just gonna do it. And one of our very own dear
Megan,
friends, Megan Rice,
yeah, Megan Rice.
who is well known in this community, and of course, it was true for anybody who was on the road. But, you know, this is really, really serious. That we've got a group of drivers who are speeding and habitually going across.
Yeah, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on that, being that you're new to this, situation. The speeding on the boulevard is an ongoing issue, I'm sure you're aware of that. It's been like that, I've been here since '82, it's been that since '82, if not before. And sometimes the solutions or the proposed solutions are signs. Signs are not gonna work. It's been proven over and over again. The only thing that's gonna work is more enforcement. That's it. People, look, even when I'm driving in a car, most of the time I don't see the signs anymore either. Okay? So it's about enforcement. And we need to figure out a way to support CHP in getting more enforcement in. If it means talking to our state senators, our state assembly people, we need more people. And if there's anybody that does not want more cops around, it's me. But the fact of the matter is, in this case, it's desperately needed. And it's not signs.
And one of my concerns is driver of the tow truck. Consequences for his, I mean, he had to be injured too, although she got the worst of it. What happens to him?
That's
And the
something
company
I
that
can
he's
look into.
working for. Probably too. but-
Sure, but as far as crashes go, I only really get notified of crashes if there is a fatal accident. Otherwise, it's kind of just business as usual, so I don't get details on every single crash. And so it'd pretty much be impossible for me to know unless someone died, which specific crash you're asking about. But when I come to these, if there's something you're interested in, I can go back and I can go find it. But as far as knowing ahead of time what you guys are interested in, if it wasn't a fatal, I probably don't know what happened.
I'm sorry, just one thing, on the enforcement issue that Roger mentioned, I do agree, at this point, I'm so tired of people, like, entities, people doing things wrong, we tried the education, the signs, all right, done. People only respond to money at this point, fine, speed, make it cost the money, and then they'll stop. I'm in that phase right now, I may change my mind later, that's it, from the top. Do you feel like the captain, the new VA, like, are these enforcement oriented people, do they wanna crack down, or are we dealing with people who don't wanna crack down?
We've always been enforcement oriented. The issue comes down to personnel. So on a given day lately, they go out with 6 people for a shift. And that's to cover the entire San Fernando Valley from doing at Universal Studios to Ventura County on the 101. And then 118, that's going to be the 5 to Ventura County. In between all the Santa Monica Mountains down to PCH, and they have 6 people just for that. And so at that point, we often don't even have an officer assigned out here. Officers will respond to calls out here just because there's a shortage of personnel. But some days when we have maybe 10 officers, that gets an officer assigned specifically to Topanga.
I don't do 10.
10?
Yeah.
It's just a shortage. So we're down right now, I want to say, with 800 officers statewide. And we're seeing that at the office level. So back in the day, you would see 14 officers. Now, when I started here, I was going out 4, 6. Vacations and stuff like that take people away. Right now, like half of one shift is on vacation. So it's the issues of kind of just having people out here.
Sorry,
Do
sorry,
that.
Lisa wanted to ask and then we
Yeah,
got
no, thank you, I appreciate the limits and the challenges. I think because of those limits, a lot of times the Operation Safe Canyon meetings are talking about mechanical barriers and how we engineer the roads to make it more difficult for people to engage in. And we seem to have that conversation get jettisoned, but you know, as a person who lives here, we're always gonna have these shortages. You guys are always gonna be strapped down. I understand we're a small volume population, but we have these unique needs. And I'm just curious mechanically, how we make it, especially, we know the straight areas. We know the areas that are most statistically likely for people to attempt to pass, sometimes blind, but it's usually those short stretches where there's a little bit of visibility. That's where we see people. I have to imagine the engineering is there. So think about investing money in some, you know, things that don't require you guys to be here to sell it, and make it harder. So I guess that's just a question.
So good, instead of cameras,
Let me follow up on that. Thank you for that great segue.
I
I remember when we had lots of box stops on the boat.
Fox.
They all know about Creek.
Wait, okay, now, that may not be a solution, but I know that you have physical barrier on the 138 that makes it difficult, or let's say more difficult for people to do that. Is that something that might be useful here, even though we do have a limited roadway width? And that's something I guess Caltrans can.
Yeah, I think that might be something for Caltrans, but we wouldn't oppose anything that would help our job, but we wouldn't be responsible for kind of instituting that, but it would kind of come from Caltrans.
And the next thing is, we just put some of those nail strips down on the double yellow.
I like it.
I know, seriously, somebody did that to me the other day, I guess I was going too slow. Okay, did you want to give the report?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go with that. So crashes for October 2024. You had 12 crashes last month. 7 of them were property damage only. 5 of them were injuries. 2 were hit and run crashes. And both of those there were solo vehicles. They crashed into something, whether it was a pole or a fence, and then they fled and left their vehicle behind. As far as those go, the drivers, I looked at the reports, drivers weren't identified. So that's one of the issues we run into is that, yes, we have the car, but who is driving it? Doesn't necessarily have to be the registered owner. So if we can't find the driver to pay for all the damages and stuff like that, it falls on the registered owner of the car. So something still gets done if they damage a fence or something like that, the registered owner has to pay for it. We had 0 fatal crashes. There were 2 DUI crashes. One was alcohol involved, one was drug involved. And of those crashes, 5 were unsafe turning movements, 2 were unsafe backing or an unsafe start. So if they were, say, on the shoulder and they pulled out into traffic, that would be unsafe start. 1 was an unknown cause because they weren't able to determine who was at fault for that crash. And we consider DUI a cause of a crash, so 2 of those were DUI and 2 were unsafe speed. That's possibly due to the ongoing construction. Basically, someone comes around the corner, rear ends somebody, that would be the unsafe speed conditions. And for October 2023, there were 8 crashes, 6 were property damage only, 2 were injury-involved crashes. 1 was a hit and run, and that's the same thing. It was another hit and run vehicle abandoned at the scene. Driver was not located on that one. There are 0 fatal crashes and there are 0 DUI crashes. 5 of those were unsafe turning movements. 1 was unsafe speed. 1 was driving on the wrong side of the road. And 1 was failure to yield on a left turn or making a U-turn. And then we have Thanksgiving maximum enforcement period coming up. That's going to be November 28th to December 1st. What you're going to see is rigorous enforcement of the vehicle code on those days. So you're going to have 80% of all available officers deployed, and they will all be making traffic stops throughout the day. Doesn't necessarily mean someone's going to get a citation. It could just be education and a verbal warning. So there's no quotas on that, but the expectation is that we go out there and enforce the law as much as we can. So we're going to be looking for violations that cause crashes and violations that if someone was in a crash, it could get them killed. So we're looking for DUI, speed, occupant restraints, wearing your seatbelt, cell phone, and any kind of distracted driving. I mean, that includes like putting on your makeup in the mirror while driving. We see that a lot. And this is going to be announced in advance on social media. And our goal here is to reduce the mileage death rate. That's our main goal with all the enforcement that we do. And that's just the amount of miles driven by drivers versus the amount of deaths compared to those miles. And the goal is just to reduce crashes, expedite the flow of traffic, and so that way everyone can celebrate the holiday in safety.
If I may, one of those checkpoints, will you also be checking for modified mufflers that are getting the noise disturbances through the canyons and through LA County?
So we're not gonna have checkpoints per se. It's officers will be out and about driving around, issuing citations. That's something to absolutely look for.
Right.
Because typically vehicles who have that are also involved in street racing.
Yeah.
So we focus on the car, not the person who's driving. So if they're driving a car like that, the odds are that's what they're doing, and make sure there's penalties for that.
Right, thank you.
If you guys ever want to do one of those on Wednesday night, I will buy all the donuts.
So that one, the Thanksgiving one that's
Thanksgiving,
November.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
The
like,
other ones?
yeah.
So we do those once a month. Once a month, we take officers off shift. When we have enough people, we take probably 3 to 4 who go out across the area. Generally, when they do that, they focus on the canyons and PCH. So when we have the special enforcement, they get sent out into the canyons, looking for the very violations that you guys are concerned about, like prosecuting WLs and stuff like that.
You're aware Wednesday night at 10 o'clock.
And that's the 10 o'clock.
That's race night.
Race night, yeah.
Yes.
I'm happy to take notes
Yeah,
on that.
please, come back at time.
Yeah, we set our clocks by the.
Yeah.
About 10
Anyone,
o'clock, 11.
yeah, if you need to get definite violators, that's your sweet spot.
And they always end up up there, it's absolutely right, so they come through the valley, they come down the canyon, they come up. I live on the strip. And then they end up at the top and they go down. They come and then they tell.
Yeah, I don't care where they come to. Yeah.
The street racing issue is not something that we can do alone. We look to the community as well to help us with that. So if you're hearing it, you're seeing a lot of it, let us know where those locations are, because we can't be everywhere. Like I said, with the personnel shortage, we might have one officer driving through here. And the canyons it's massive.
No, we get it, but
Yeah,
it's a layup for you, for
Yeah.
sure, you know?
So, well, that's why we're at, so we can set officers up in those locations, is if you can kind of keep track of the times of where they are, and it seems to be like a regular rotation, that's something we can look into where we can have officers ready to go in the spot. We do have the trace team, which they're supposed to be doing county enforcement as well. So if we get enough kind of tips on a spot, then we can have them set up, shift adjust. And
Can you repeat the trace, it's an acronym, it's not ringing a bell, what is it?
the transient response and county enforcement.
Got it, okay.
So right now, they're focused a lot on the homeless encampments issue around the freeway.
Yeah.
So they've been going into homeless encampments and people who aren't leaving, they're detaining them and then identifying if they have warrants and stuff like that and arresting them.
So around RVs a lot, right?
The RVs, so the RV issue,
Yeah.
down on the TCH.
Yeah.
So that is something that we're both having issues with. But as of now, we kind of have to step back from the RVs in particular. So I know there's the signage up that they can't be there, but there's issues with them being inhabited.
Okay.
So as far as getting them resources and stuff like that, it's not a simple
Got it,
fix
got
where
it.
you can just take it out of there.
Yeah, I see, I almost, yeah, it does cut right to that issue. Yeah. Got it.
Can I just ask, has anyone with regards to the racers ever successfully documented the license plates? Because I've stood in front of my house and tried. My husband yelling at me, but they've often taken off all their front plates and they're going so fast, I can't even get footage of their rear plates. I'm just curious if anyone has got.
Set,
Yeah.
set your camera to slow-mo, so you get a lot more frames per second.
Okay, and you guys have turned those lights in, okay.
All right, so now we're in this very awkward position, help me, Drew, here. So now we're supposed to be starting the Caltrans. Yeah, can we start the Caltrans now, and then we can do it on the back end of the Caltrans
You
meeting?
can do whatever you want.
Okay, sorry, I'm so grateful for your being here. Okay, Caltrans, so do you guys want to go ahead and give your presentation, then we'll do questions, and then want to make sure we can get fire in there too, everybody.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is Jim Khan. I'm the Assistant Division Chief for Program Project Management. It's a pretty long title, but basically our division manages projects from its inception to completion of the project.
Would you be kind enough just to speak a little louder?
Louder, okay, I'll try my best. Okay, so I'm gonna give out a presentation, it's in front of you, so I'm gonna just go through it quickly. I have about 12 slides, I believe, or 11 slides. So I'm gonna give you an update on the Topanga Canyon Boulevard pavement project. We call it CAPM, C-A-P-M. So what it stands for is a Capital Preventive Maintenance Projects. What it does, and I'll be explaining that to you a little later in the slides. Basically, we wanted to catch pavement before it gets deteriorated so badly. So that's what the project is. So I'm going to go over the scope of the project. As you can see the map on the right-hand side, its entire length of the Topanga Canyon from PCH all the way to close to 101. So what we are doing is we have basically pavement work. It's a 2-inch grind and overlay in some locations. Some locations we're just overlaying 2 inches. This is what we call a rubberized asphalt. So hot mix rubberized asphalt. Type G. That is stand for gap graded. So it's a specific gradation of the rocks that goes in there. It has a rubber particles that's basically recycled tires going there in the emulsion. It's non-monolithic fluid, but because of the rubber kind of swells into the emulsion, it acts as a cushion. And what it does is it's long lasting, it's very quiet, and we've been utilizing this type all over the state. So unless we get a exception, we have to use rubberized asphalt because we've been very successful. So and also we have about upgrading 200 programs, ADA programs for that is actually not in the canyon side, but on the valley side. I think that a lot of programs are on there. And also we are constructing bus pads up as well, and guardrail and vegetation control. That is a basic summary of the project. Southern California Edison has 3 phases of the project in the canyon side. There's a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 right now is in construction. They are laying down additional conduits, and also they are pulling some wires or conductors through it. For the phase 1, they're in construction now, and they will be completing laying down, trenching, and laying down the pipes, empty conduits by February of next year. And then they're going to start pulling the conductors after that. So while our concern was paving this portion of the road, and they come in and trench, it's scarring the brand new pavement. So we, it was alerted to us. They're supposed to actually follow our project, but we didn't quite know how the schedule was going to work. So there were a lot of coordination weekly with the Southern California Edison to make sure that phase 1, at least the trenching portion, will be completed before we pave that portion of the road. That is, I think, Happy Trail all the way to
Woodland Crest.
Yeah, Woodland Crest. That's correct. So that portion of the work will be suspended until they are done with the trenching. Now, phase 2 and 3, we know they're coming, we don't know when they're coming. They have not submitted any plans to us. So they said they're gonna do it, but we don't have a actual document showing what they're gonna do and when they're gonna, how they're gonna do it. So, that portion is south of the Happy Trail. That's a couple of sections there. So we'll have to wait and see what they're gonna do. So, originally, we suspended the paving work in the canyon side, mid-October. But right now, we actually have lifted that suspension so that contractor could come in and do the work, except where the, Southern California Edison is coming for the phase 1. So that portion will be suspended until next spring. However, from PCH to Happy Trail, the suspension is lifted. So if contractor wants to come in and work, they can work.
What is?
If you can hold your question until the end, I really appreciate it. Okay, main update. Again, I was kind of explaining the whole thing. Our work is commencing. The valley portion of the work is commencing. We did not have any suspension for that portion. So contractors are doing installation of the 88 programs, bus pads, and also some paving. Now, the rubberized asphalt is very sensitive to the temperature. So it has to be above 50 degrees Fahrenheit before it can be laid down and cured properly. So most likely, majority of the work will probably happen next spring. So that is my guess at this point. However, if they achieve certain temperature, they can go and do that work. So the northern portion, which is the valley side, the work is continuing. Again, I told you that work was suspended from PCH to all the way to the canyon side, but we are lifting the suspension up to Happy Trail. Let's see. So majority of the paving work will happen at night. So again, unless it warms up, we can't really do that work. So I don't think there's a lot of paving going on right now. So this is a map for that 3 phases of Southern California Edison project. The portion in the middle is the portion that the phase, I believe that's phase 1. Yeah, that's a phase, that's phase 2, I'm sorry. The phase 1 is a northern portion. That's gonna be completed. So again, all the phase 2 and phase 3, we don't know when they're gonna happen. They kind of gave us a rough schedule, but we can't really know until they actually submit the plans to us to get the encroachment permit. But we don't have that yet. So this is a general layout of what the schedule of the project, our project is. The second line is most likely this scenario. So we are trying to complete the construction by July of 2026. And the bottom portion is what the Southern California Edison said they were gonna do. But the phase, again, 2 and 3 is a question mark. Phase 1, we know when it's gonna end. Now, Southern California Edison work will still continue after February of next year, because they will have to install the conductors, which means pulling the wires. However, that's not going to impact the paving work because they already trenched. So that's a question. So I want to kind of go over the condition of the pavement here, which is not bad. I mean, this is not a horrible condition. But this is just the right timing to fix this. Because there are some cracks, oxidation and whatnot. So number one enemy of the roadway is sunlight oxidation plus water. So if we can fix that oxidation and seal the road and keep the base, basically road will be servicing it definitely. So in this graph, I want to it's kind of difficult to kind of see this, but it's basically time and the quality of the pavement. So when in the beginning, we haven't paved the road completely. So that the time passes and it deteriorates, the quality goes bad. And basically we have 20-year life of the pavement. So at the end of the 20 years, you have to completely rehab, which means we have to dig out the base, we have to recompact it, so the depth will be a foot or two. So it's a major construction. However, asphalt concrete is very unique in the sense that it oxidizes, it cracks on the top, but if we can treat the top layer between 5 to 7 years, which is the blue line there, it will bring up the surface almost like new. So that's what we're trying to do. Every 5 to 7 years, do a surface treatment to revive the pavement without doing major rehab. Major rehab means you have to close the lane to build this. Whereas grind and overlay, you can do it overnight. During the day, the traffic could flow. So that's what we're trying to do. Try to catch that before it gets deteriorated so badly. So what happened in the past, so current CAPM is again, 7 to 10 year life. Last pavement job that we've done in this canyon is 2007. So after 10 years, 2017, we were supposed to catch that, but we missed that opportunity. So I know there was some slurry seal that was done in 2019, but that's not good enough. So we want to come back and grind that 2-inch off and refresh that pavement. Then that's exactly what we're doing. So hopefully that'll give you another 5, 7, 10 years of life. So at the conclusion, this is what we're doing. We are trying to finish this job as soon as we can, but it'll be like July of 2026 to complete the entire stretch. And then again, Caltrans will coordinate the effort with the Southern California Edison for phase 1. Phase 2 and 3 will come after we are done. Unfortunately, they will be digging out. They'll be trenching the fresh pavement. However, we cannot wait for them any longer, because if we wait longer, the rehabilitation strategy will have to change to a little more drastic measure, which means more impacts to the traffic, longer closures. And for us, it's a lot more expensive. So we want to catch this now so that pavement will be serviceable in a good condition. We want to keep that. And then we are hoping to come back 5 to 7 years for another surface treatment. That'll be basically grinding off and then putting back the about 2 inches. So that's what we're trying to do. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
First thing is, when the pavement wears, what is the amount of particulate matter that is aerosolized?
I don't have that information, but it's all emulsion and rock. So
if you can get that to Carrie, that would be great. The next thing is the grinding at night. What is the noise limits that you expect for that?
There is a specification under our center specs, I think 65 dB at 200 to 300 feet. So we are trying to make sure that contractor, don't quote me on that, but I will get that spec for you and send it to you all. But we have a specification that if the noise level goes up beyond that, then they'll have to reduce the noise.
Now, when you say 65, is that decibels LEQ?
dB. That's
decibels. What are they, like LEQ over an hour or?
Beats me.
Okay.
I'm not a sound engineer, so
I'll try. I am.
Are you are? Okay. So let me try to get that information to you.
Okay. Anna, can you send us that Gantt chart you had up there?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Again, the bottom portion is Southern California Edison's early schedule, so that will change. So it just be aware that it's not very accurate.
Thank you.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead.
So most of this is gonna happen at night, is what you're saying,
Correct. The paving work will.
the paving will, okay.
So Southern California Edison also will pull the conductor at night. So there's going to be conflict between Caltrans project and Southern California Edison project. If they cannot coordinate, our project gets priority. So they will have
So
to
you're
wait.
gonna cover the road and then they're gonna dig it up again, and then,
Yes.
and then cover it again?
So it's a grinding operation. It's a
Okay.
grinder that comes through. And then they pave either the following day or at the same night.
Alright.
So the production rate is about a mile a night per lane. That's what I heard. And this is a very thin overlay, so I think it might go faster. Yes, sir.
When the ultimate results, if you grade it down or you grind it down 2 inches and you're adding layers on top, is it neutral, meaning you're taking 2 inches off, adding 2 on? I know it sounds like a silly question.
Oh, no, it's
So
not.
the reason why I ask is because anybody that has a property along the boulevard, over the years, that grade is quite higher than the property level, so therefore there's a drop off. I'm just curious what it's gonna be like.
So grind and overlay is grinding 2 inches off and putting the 2 inches back.
Great, so it's neutral.
There are portions of this rehabilitation that we are just overlaying 2 inches. So I'm not sure exactly where they are, but we will have to conform to the existing driveway.
Okay, good.
So-
Or commercial properties too.
Correct. That has to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. King, just to go to Jane's question, can you help us understand why we're resurfacing, followed by excavation, followed by resurfacing? This,
Right, why can't it wait? What does it make
The
sense?
reason why is the graph that I showed you. If we wait any longer, it deteriorates exponentially. It's not a straight line. So the 2 years mean it could go way beyond the strategy can do. So if we wait, first of all, we're gonna lose funding for this project. It's gonna be hard.
I know, it's probably number one. It's not, it's probably.
I'm just trying to explain that to you. So
Right,
number one,
fair
the funding will be
enough,
gone.
enough, good to know.
Even if there's a funding, it will cost most likely double or triple of the original strategy. So that's why we wanted to catch before it gets bad. So that's what preventive maintenance projects are.
So how
Just
much
take the
are you
sign
having
off.
to do, okay, so how much are we talking about is basically gonna be done, then be dug up again, and then be kind of half?
So the phase one, they will dig it up and they're gonna install the pipes for Southern California Edison.
And it'll be done in a good sequence.
Right,
Phase
and then we're gonna come and then pave on top. So there will not be scarring. For phase 2 and 3, our project will be completed. And then Southern California Edison will come after.
How many miles are we talking of road?
Again,
Sorry, I
that
can't
is.
see that well. Fine.
So the phase 1 is a top portion.
Yep.
And then phase 1 and 2 is a PCH all the way to Happy Trail.
Okay, so quick question, just to be a pain in the neck, but I do appreciate you saying the funding
No
thing, because
problem.
I do feel like that is a clincher, that is pivotal. God forbid, just say, if you lose the funding, if we delay it and wait to do it later, like, would it be impossible to get it? Like, how difficult? I know nobody likes to say goodbye to money, but if we did wait, God forbid it costs twice as much, I mean, is it the end of the world?
Let me answer that before.
I'm gonna tell you, if we delay, not only will it cost more, but it'll be more extensive, the work they need to do. So it will impact us even more.
Okay, so, and does the scarification also increase the likelihood of damage to the road in the interim?
Yes.
Right, so once you've resurfaced it, and then they go and they dig that cut for the next set of lines, when they do their resurfacing afterwards, that leaves exposure. That's like, or does
So we
that?
have a very specific standard that we request them to backfill. So they will have to repair it for our standard. So I'm not sure if this is true, but what I heard from the permit engineer yesterday is they're supposed to repave it from lane line to lane line. So it shouldn't be as bad as it looks. A lot of the trenching might be close to the edge of the road rather than in the middle of the road. So that's what my guess at this point. But when they trench out, still, it's better that we repair it everywhere else and then repair that portion.
Just to clarify though, if they're repaving lane line to lane line, they're not gonna be grinding it down, so therefore they will be adding surface grade on top.
So again, the normal practice for the trenching is they will compact it down.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to fill that gap, which means there should not be a grade difference.
Correct.
Now, when I heard the lane line to lane line, I kind of scratched my head as well. So
Yeah, if they're gonna pay on top of it.
yeah, so
But we're adding
I really don't think that is the case.
Okay.
Yes.
Phase 2, phase 3, that means that it's from Happy Trail to PCH, that means that they're going to go through the whole town.
That's right.
All the way till 2027,
I'm sorry?
till 2027.
Yes.
And then they start ready for the.
Yes.
Didn't I hear you say that they plan to dig and put the conduit in, and then they pull the lines later, so they're gonna trench and conduit, and then you do your work.
Or phase
paving?
one. Or
Right.
phase one, yes.
Okay. Then later they pull the wires or the conductors.
Correct, for the phase one.
So that shouldn't disturb the surface at all.
So phase one, yes, that's correct. Phase one, we will come after their digging. So you will not see any scars on it.
So I have a simple question to ask about capital project planning between the state and let's say entities like Edison. Why is this happening?
It is happening because everybody has different timing. They have their funding availability, state has our availability. We planned this project 5 years ago. Okay, these encroachment permits are coming in 6 months ago. So it is not anybody's fault, but these improvements has to be done, and it is conflicting. So we are doing our best to coordinate that effort. But unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work. I just have to fess up. You know, they come in 6 months ago saying, hey, we're gonna do this work. And we can't say, no, we can't do that because you gotta wait 10 years. Well, that is gonna be a problem for the community because this is a power grid, right? To supply power to your community. So we cannot stop that and we should not stop that. So we do our best to coordinate. Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation.
There's a question here.
Over here.
Yes.
Hi, just a quick question. And I know I really appreciate the fact that Caltrans, I know coordinating with SD on an unknown project timeline, you have your project already there and beats like no other. So thank you for your coordination with them. My question is and that's alarming on our side to hear that something's gonna be exactly what the community was saying, they're gonna repave and they're gonna dig. Is the standard that you set them to repave afterwards and to fix that, is that the same rubberized asphalt that you guys were gonna be using?
Good question. I am not sure about that. So most likely not.
Sure it is.
No, most likely not. I think usually, but then again, the trenching is very narrow. It's a strip about 6 inches, maybe less.
No, it's a little bit more.
So.
But just so you know, one of the reasons this repaving project was done is because the last time when they did that top coat, it made too much noise because they kind of cheaped out and didn't use the good stuff. So we really can't have you do the good stuff for like 5 minutes and then have to put a significant stretch with the cheap stuff.
It's very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, but this is what we're facing. So again, I will not stop their work.
Okay, Roger.
And then I'm gonna find out what they're gonna use, but it's gonna be most likely hard asphalt base.
But can we demand for them to have like the?
I like that.
It's just that the waste of money, I mean, it's just like, you did it, like, yeah, it was a cheap stuff
Absolutely.
long
I hate to
time
see
ago.
that too.
And now it's like, okay, it's too noisy, let's do a good stuff, and now the good stuff, but it's been.
So I don't know where they're gonna grind. I don't know where they're gonna grind. So I can find out, but I don't know because we did not get the plans yet. So most likely it's away from the weed line. Usually it's off the weed line, you know, it's 12-foot lane. I don't think they're gonna put a conduit right where the whale's gonna be. So it will be either away from it or toward the middle. So I am thinking that it will not impact the right quality that much. Go ahead.
Roger.
Yeah, maybe I can clear things up a little bit. Being that I've been involved with this thing for the last 6 years. It was Joseph Rosindo and I were the two people that encouraged Caltrans to repave the road using rubberized asphalt. And the reason was because Old Topanga, which is a county-owned road, as we know, they used rubberized asphalt, and the road was much quieter. So when that happened, we went to Caltrans and said, Caltrans, you need to redo the road, and when you do the road, you need to do rubberized asphalt. That's how it started, okay? So now, here's what I know, some of which was explained, and some of it, the information may not have been there. But maybe I have inside information, I don't know. But Vladimir Gorfenko is the man who's in charge, is in control and in charge of the construction of this project. The project, and we were supposed to have a meeting about this tomorrow. I don't know if you were gonna be in the meeting. Were you gonna be in the meeting tomorrow?
I am not sure if that
Okay.
meeting is still on.
Okay.
I don't know
Now,
if it's still on.
okay, that meeting now is gonna happen the first, more than likely, I'm trying to get a date, the first week of December. And what we're gonna talk about is we're gonna talk about the rubberized asphalt. We're gonna talk about we're gonna be repaving where the pavement is already and not where dirt is now, and then go over with the asphalt. The dirt will remain dirt, asphalt will remain asphalt. The guardrails are being replaced. There are no new guardrails being put in. And the replacement of the guardrails are gonna be up to the standard that exists right now. We're gonna have them all consistently in one color as well, instead of 16 different colors that we have on the road now. The paving will be done after Edison is finished their work. So this is my understanding, and we're gonna clarify this at the beginning of December. And it's only going to be in phase one, the phase one that we were talking about for Southern California, Edison. Phase two and phase three of Edison, they don't know what they're doing yet. They keep saying that it's in the drawing boards, and phase two is from Happy Trail, I think, down to the center of town, or maybe a little bit beyond. And then phase three would be in our scenic highway. Those two phases have not been finalized at all yet. And until they're finalized, and until we know what Edison is going to do, Caltrans is not going to pave anything. It's gonna be Caltrans, it's gonna be Edison finishing their work, and then Caltrans comes in and does their work. So there's things we still have to work out.
Roger, all this undergrounding, is there room in the conduits for some of the telecommunications too, or that's all just gonna stay, all that light?
The undergrounding, the way it was explained to me, Edison, is the work they're doing now, they're doing the trenches, and they're causing havoc for us, I know that. And that's something I'm gonna address, or we, Terry and I are gonna address that tomorrow as well. Let's see, the wires that have to run underground will be run after all of the trenching has been completed. Then they're gonna run the wires, and then after they run the wires, they're gonna take down, or they're gonna cut down some of the poles that are holding the electrical wires in place. So all of it seems to be,
But all of that telecommunication is gonna stay.
huh?
It's gonna stay, maybe we'll trim the tops.
They'll trim they're not gonna take them down because we have communication lines that are up. So in the end, what we will see from the valley to Happy Trail, we will see all the electrical lines down.
Yep.
Poles will still be up, unfortunately, and then we'll have our communication lines will still be up, but all the electrical lines and the possibility of fire will be lessened quite a bit. So again, I was told yesterday by Vladimir, I had a 2-hour meeting with Vladimir yesterday, and in that meeting, he said, what was said here, that that this work that's gonna be done has to be done when the temperature is right. So it's gonna happen like April, May, somewhere in there. It's gonna start, or it's not gonna start until Edison has finished their work. So that's what I know. And I don't know if anybody has anything.
Let me just take a look.
Hold on, yeah, let's have it in order, put up one at a time, but go ahead.
Let me revert to what you said. Phase 2 and 3, we will pay. And Edison will come afterwards. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
We're not gonna wait, until they're done with their trenching. Phase 2 and 3, we will have to continue that work in order to finish it by July of 2026.
Did you get permission?
We're gonna discuss that. Let me discuss, let's go later.
Quick question. Did you get permission or permits from coastal and the county, or did you not have to?
Absolutely, everything was clear.
I have a comment to make. They're undergrounding conduits for the high voltage cables. And you can't put low voltage cables near high voltage cables. And right now you'll see they have some of these vaults every so often. Problem is, you can have separate conduits for those low voltage cables, but they can't have the same vault. Okay? I'm thinking eventually we'll just have 1 or 2 fiber optic cables for telecommunications, and they can come by and take the other ones down. Whether they do that or not, or just abandon them, is let's say, an economic decision by the owner of those cables.
Oh, very good observation. Okay, Charles.
Yeah.
Is it possible that Edison could accelerate their work coming from PCH so they can do it earlier and just have 2 crews or 3 crews?
Edison does, you have Edison,
yeah,
and you have Caltrans. This is Caltrans,
exactly.
It's not Edison.
I understand.
And so Edison doesn't have, according to what I was told the other day, Edison is still in the drawing stages for phase 2 and phase 3.
So my point is, if we can get them to accelerate, then they do their cut sooner, and then the paving happens on time. And we're still gonna have the interruption at one end of the canyon. If people can only get through here in whatever amount of time, and there's another block in the canyon, it's not really gonna slow them down that much going through the canyon. If we have 2 or 3 crews working, we get it done sooner, we have a smooth road the whole way
It's a
through.
good question. It's incredibly, I'll say it
It happened in the spring, so we're looking, it
Yeah.
has to wait until that.
Can SoCal Edison accelerate their work? Because they don't need sweet temperatures to do their work, they're just cutting and
right.
installing.
We're the ones who are.
And can't they do their work at night?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit confused timing wise. So you're saying we can't wait for them to do it. We're gonna do it now. What does that mean? Like when you say now, are you planning to start like next week, next month? Like I'm a little bit confused.
The contractor has all the right to start the work anytime, except where the phase 1 is. Southern California.
That one's tethered to the FTE, but are you implying that you may start work as soon as December on phase 2, like you're jumping to the phase 2 and phase 3 area as early as like December, or when would you start that at the earliest if you're allowed to do that?
Right now, we allow them to whenever they want to start. If they have correct temperature. My guess is it's not gonna be until next spring.
Okay.
But we lifted that suspension.
Right.
So they can start anytime.
All right, so June, on that, let me say this, so sorry to interrupt, I just want to, because you keep saying they can start anytime, just so you know, and Sophia, feel free to back me up on this. The community,
Anytime.
yeah, the community, like in general with Caltrans, has set down a paradigm in which we are given weeks, at least like 6 weeks notice before any potential work to restart. So we can get the word out to the community, we can help businesses, help to mitigate the damage. So please bring that back to headquarters, don't tell the contractor, go out there whenever you have men, whenever you feel like it. They need to definitely touch base with us, get at least 6 weeks before they're gonna start. It can't be like same day, hey, I got men available, let's do it. Like, there needs to be a lot of advanced planning and notification.
Understood. So I'm not sure how that's gonna be, it's been coordinated in the past. I will have the PIO work on that, but I know there is a blast out that we send out for the schedules. So what I'm saying is the suspension is lifted, which does not mean they're gonna go out there tomorrow. Because as you say, they need to submit the schedule to us. And we need to let you know what's gonna happen as far as the main.
And not just let us know, but engage with us.
Oh, so absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So that's why the PIO representative is here. So
Okay.
we'll definitely do that.
I want you, but there's an important other thing to consider that needs to be brought up. It's the holiday, moratorium on work. So a lot of our businesses have been absolutely hammered the last several years. COVID, then we had the landslide that closed the boulevard for months, and we've had 2 years of rainy storms where people have business levels have been reduced because the traffic's just not as much coming through the canyon. So we basically, a lot of our retailers depend on that peak holiday shopping season from November to January. So basically account for maybe 50% of their year's sales, some of them, some not. We just would like to get some sort of guarantee or at least extremely, confident reassurance that no work will be done by either SDE or Caltrans. I know you can't speak for SDE during that holiday period, this year, next year, the year after. Can we get that kind of reasonable reassurance from you?
As far as the paving work is concerned, I don't think it's gonna happen because of the temperature. So, but I will bring that back, the
Yes.
concerns.
Yeah.
So November and December, correct?
Yeah, it's a big one, yeah,
Okay, so
November and
I'll bring it back to the team, and I will talk to Vladimir, who's the resident engineer there, and his supervisor, and his principal, and his deputy to make sure.
Excellent, bring them all. Okay.
So I did communicate directly to the deputy of the construction, and he knows that I'm here today. So, yeah, we will communicate that. He's making a note right now. So.
Thank you.
A couple other things you should keep in mind as well, we can talk about this offline later, is that the phase 3 area happens to be in our scenic highway. So there's permission that need to be gotten from the coastal commission. We need to get permission from, or you need to get permission from the county, from regional planning. It's all in the coastal zone.
It's all approved.
Yes,
This project
okay.
is done. I mean,
Okay.
it's design is done and we're in construction, so
All right,
we got everything.
Sorry, okay, Seth, I want you guys, because then we have to wind it down so we can get to fire, but there will be subsequent follow-up meetings. I've been told by Caltrans there'll be a follow-up in January on this, plus Roger and I and Sophia and others will be having small group meetings throughout the next couple of
The
weeks.
next meeting will be the first
December.
the first week in December.
And we will send out through the town council newsletter, email updates about what's going on and any updates or notifications or any other meetings, emergency meetings that may be convened. But Caltrans has told me that they will come back in January to another public meeting like this, so. That's what we're pushing on. Okay, Seth, do you have a question for him? And then we
I
need
may
to.
have missed this in some previous meeting. Has someone come here from Southern California, Edison?
No. No,
We
they,
should.
they tend to go to the 10th meeting, but I definitely would love to drag them into the meeting.
We could get someone from Edison to
Yeah.
come here,
Yeah.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I love it here. Yeah.
Bring vegetables.
Okay, so any other questions? Oh,
I just wanna, make a note, are you guys gonna be making a website with updates? Because this is great that you're here, but a lot of the community is not gonna know that information until it's in the ground. Is there a website that you guys could create for this project to provide updates on what construction's gonna be, where you're gonna be impacting everything?
I don't have, information on that, but let me check back.
Wonderful.
As far as I know, there was no website, but we'll see if we can put something together and,
Yeah, it was
and,
really
and
effective when you
download,
guys did the
yeah,
slide.
download all the informations, and go from there.
Just have the people who did the slide website for you do this.
I kind of tore apart. This one had like 30 slides and I did it all to get it down to what is important for you guys. So I will work with the team. The project manager works under me for this project. So we'll do everything that we can to inform you and engage with you. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm just giving you my card so you can send me all that information about decibel levels and the aerosol. Yeah, this PowerPoint as well.
You know, as a taxpayer like me, if I were to want solar on my house, but I knew I needed a new roof, I would re-roof my house first. I'm a rinky dink, but I know how to coordinate. I wouldn't put solar on, then pay to take it off, and then pay to re-roof, and then pay to put solar back on. That's what this is. That's a metaphor for what we're doing here. And it's ridiculous.
You know,
And you sit up, no, they sit up there and they talk to us and waste our money.
I've been here 50 years and this is not the first time this has
It
happened.
needs to be the last time.
I know.
This is how 9/11 happened. Nobody talked. They didn't share information.
You know, it is a good point. It is a shame. It does seem like, especially because SCE and Caltrans both have sort of state level oversight, that there shouldn't be some sort of like a funding sort of shifting or sharing in instances like this where there is that overlap. Because, well, it's saving you money to do it now. Ultimately, it's costing more money, and we're on the hook for it.
And he has no money. He's operating with like, what did you say, you're down 800 officers? We have plenty of money for signs, and you're gonna commence tearing up a road, letting them cut it apart, and then you're gonna have to come back. You won't be back in 5 to 7 years. You'll be back in a few years.
Yeah.
Please don't kill the messenger.
No, I know.
But it needs to be said. It's just a waste.
It is frustrating. I see, we have the same frustration as well.
Especially with inflation and what it is.
Absolutely.
This is new information, by the way, about the way you're approaching it. Because the information, the information that we've always had is phase 2 and phase 3 is not touched until we know what SCE is doing. You're giving us new information now that needs to be discussed further.
Sure.
It shouldn't be embarrassing.
Well, SCE has the resources, right? This is a huge institution with billions of dollars. It's just a reallocation for them to do more simultaneous and accelerated work, given they want to save on the fire risk and their liability from getting sued from another Woolsey fire and so on, because they're accelerating this process. Accelerated fully. Just bring SCE into the conversation is I think the move.
If there is any way to do that, I fully endorse it, so it would be great.
Yeah, if you can help us out, I will do it as well.
We need to
Do we
get.
have to go to Rosemead with torches and pitchforks?
I don't know.
Yeah, well,
It's not even being said,
You can leave
is that the loss of time, every single one of us. I mean, it is adding 15, 20, 30 minutes. My children are home late on the bus. I can't get to work. My patients can't get to me. Then they can't get home. You know, I mean, just the loss of productivity and all the time. All these procedures going to 2027, my God. I mean, I know you don't live here, but you can appreciate how long it is.
Absolutely.
All those
Please, don't miss.
I'm not blaming you.
Yeah, I don't. misunderstand that I do feel the frustration, and the thing is, sometimes we have to choose a lesser evil. That's a reality of it. We are working on to replace the bridge deck on Vincent Thomas. I don't know if you know where that is. That's connecting both ports. The 40% of the entire United States goods come through that port. We have to rehabilitate that deck because it's falling apart. It's built in 1960s. So we are biting the bullet. It's gonna be closed. We're gonna be building it for a year and a half. And people will be impacted because all these trucks is gonna travel on city streets now, detour. But the thing is, it's a lesser evil. If we don't do that, then bridge will be closed indefinitely. So that's what I'm trying to say. We do understand, we try to do our best to coordinate this effort, but again, sometimes it just doesn't work and it's conflicts. And we are trying to make the conflict less.
Okay, so to be continued is basically what I'm gonna say, because yeah, a lot of new information was presented tonight. We're gonna have a lot of follow-up. We need to pull in some additional people, but thank you, June,
You're
for
welcome.
coming. And please do send that, all that follow-up so we can get it online for people who couldn't come, so they can look at it. But really fabulous presentation. All right, now we have to segue to fire, because that is a very key issue. No. Okay, do you want to do fire, STR ordinance to fire? Go
Fire.
Fire. All right, too popular.
So speaking of fires, late, first time in 5 years, by the way, is, we had a fire, off, 23, so Decker Canyon and, minimal. 3 acres, so I was tied up on that, buttoning that up, everything went good. It was accidental, it wasn't homeless, it was under investigation within the population. So that's where I was. So for October for Topanga, we had a total of 3 fires, 31 medical calls, 2 hazardous condition calls, 7 service calls, and 18 good intent calls. And you know I love good intent calls. But these people are paying attention to calling, and we'll evaluate and see what the need is, and we'll take action.
Doesn't it make sense?
The fire on 800 block Old Topanga Canyon Boulevard was, cookie fire contained to a container. Other one on Topanga Canyon Boulevard in Chicago was a fully involved vehicle fire with no spread of the brush. And then the third one on Old Topanga Canyon Boulevard, 300 block, was, just an outdoor fire of no consequence.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There was a fire about a mile out from PCH that Kathleen McClanahan found about 2 a.m. on her way home.
Yeah.
What was the story with that?
Don't know. I'm not sure. When did that one happen?
That was earlier this month. I forget exactly when.
Yeah, it was, I do remember. I wasn't on that one. I don't have any information on that, but, nothing rattled my cage to get excited about it. But I will have info for you on that one.
We were very fortunate that she came by and was able to call me. Yeah.
Wow.
And I did.
Perfect. You know, recording parties you like. Yes. Yeah.
I have to say, I pulled over, they were near I was driving with 3 kids in there, so I couldn't stop.
Screening kids.
Well, what was striking is people were parked like 6 to 8 feet away. I was the first one to call you guys. I'm thinking, what's that? People were swerving around it and it was dark. I don't know, I just went looking for some protocol here.
Yeah.
I get like, you should stop. No, you're on the back.
Yeah.
Being a psychiatrist, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah,
I may-
so, yeah, there was no spread to the brush.
If I may, just to highlight Neil's point, there was suspicion of it being an arson fire. That's why I think it's important to address the fire that Neil just brought up. At 2 a.m, there was this suspicious vehicle, white vehicle, 4-door, igniting flames along Topanga. So
So to my knowledge, that wasn't reported. We brought our arson investigators out there. So just when we bring in our arson investigators does not mean it's an arson fire. It's just what we're calling fire. investigators, so cause determination investigators.
How the heck can you tell if it's arson? Like,
Oh, there's a
a
lot.
lot of ways.
A lot of ways to tell how that we have, also the sheriff's department with their arson units, so we work together on that. You know, a couple different ways on accidental, or if it goes into the criminal side of the house, that's when we get together and we hand it to our law partners to do that.
And one other question, you guys mentioned that there's an open fire in the 300 block, or was it South Topanga?
Yeah, it was, 300 block of Old Topanga.
Okay. And do you have information, because this will be a good eventual segue into STRs, if that is a short-term rental unit, is it the ownership, do you have those type of details? Because
So,
it's kind of
if,
ties into the public.
well, whoever owns 325 Old Topanga Canyon Boulevard, that's where it happened.
Okay, understood.
I asked a question.
Thank you.
You looked, made eye contact, I go, ooh, you got a question. I haven't had anything on this side of the room yet. Yes.
I have a question. We live up on Alta and where Adamsville comes up to Summit. The last 3 days, I've stopped teenagers smoking pot. They're smoking cigarettes. They're parked on the road, and that's where they're gathering after, some of them are local Calabasas kids, but there were a couple that were clearly not local kids. And when I said, y'all need to, first of all, pull off the road and not block one of the lanes. And second of all, you need to put that out because you're going to start a fire. Don't make me call the police or the fire department on you like someone did 2 weeks ago. And he goes, oh, that wasn't us. We've only been up here once before. And it's
that's
like
a high volume area though, for people to hang out. That's pretty popular.
that's a very popular spot.
Very
So
popular.
who do I call? Because I'm sitting here trying to have this conversation with teenagers who first want to tell me just to F off. And I'm going, no, I'm going to sit and have this conversation with you because you need to understand that what you're doing is endangering everybody.
Call 911 because you will get us both.
Yeah.
Oh, really? 911? Really?
Oh, yeah. Don't call the local station.
Okay.
Because this is the thing, and I try to relay this. We know that it's Topanga's fire station.
Yeah.
But if they're out doing something and you
Safe
call
fire.
there and you go, where are these people? Well, they're out doing something. So we don't want that delay in service. Call 911, and then between our fine dispatchers they have, which we both go on all these things.
See, because I'm not sure whose jurisdiction that is.
They figure it out. They know where it's at.
Calabasas.
Believe me,
Yeah.
you will get a rapid response.
You think, okay, good.
Mhm.
But the only time you call the local fire stations, make sure someone's there, you're dropping off, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes. Couple other things that happened, so I wanted to, just give some information on if it is a new term to you. You know that we just went through a significant red flag, which used to be called an extreme red flag, now it's called a PDF. Just what we need is another acronym, right? PDF, particularly dangerous situation. What does that mean? It's a red flag, but it's at the top 3% of all the red flags that you can have. So let's look at it this way. Hurricanes are not just hurricanes, they're category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And actually, your little San Luis County Fire Department is working on a national program to categorize red flag events like hurricanes. So this would be a 5 on this. So that's
Scale
but if you're doing hurricanes, it's a 5 plus. So if it's a
the PDS scale goes from.
no, it doesn't have a scale. It either is or it isn't. It's a red flag is a red flag, but when you're meet red flag criteria, there's stuff that's off the charts. Like with wind speed, relative humidity that lowers for duration of time, a lot of different variables. So there's a certain set of criteria that must be met to have a red flag to begin with. But then when you're in that red flag scenario, if there are some extremes associated with that, it makes it an extreme red flag, let's say, and it's called a particularly dangerous situation. So that's when it's usually caused by damaging wind speed. So we were getting wind speed throughout the area in this, some in excess of 70 miles an hour. We had, at the time of the mountain fire, a PDS was issued. We know that we had worked with our law partners, and I saw that was a question, and I'll get to that in a second on the canyon and road closures and how that works. That we had the mountain fire, and then we had our fire in Malibu, which was called the Broad Fire, which was right at the intersection of Malibu Canyon to the Coast Highway. Sustained wind at 35 miles an hour and gusts of 51 miles an hour. And it went from that intersection to the beach another 5 minutes. Embercast was in the houses. We did lose one home. We had that same fire in 2007. We lost 9 homes that were similar. So, meaning that it was a very, very, very significant wind event. So, which leads us into some other conversation. And one of the questions was, how do decisions get made on what we're going to do as public safety agencies? So, Captain C2, myself, also Kevin McGowan, with cooperation from the supervisor's office. We look at what we think is the best fit and the why behind it. So, and there's impacts to the community when we do some sort of a closure of some sort. We understand that inconvenience. So, however, I would think as Topanga residents, if we isolated Topanga to you, so you have the ability to navigate Topanga without the influence of others in case we have a fire, that significantly reduces the impact if we have an evacuation need. So that's the why behind it. And I'll be honest with you, there's people that have a tough time making decisions to do that. But at the end of the day, if something happens, somebody's going to wish they would have said we should have done that. And we know it's an inconvenience with stuff. We know that the public safety power shutdowns are an inconvenience. Just so you know, we get shut down too. We only have 2 stations in the battalion that we bring emergency power to, and those are our 2 battalion headquarters stations, one in Carbon Canyon, and actually, we have an emergency backup generator that we keep in case we need it. But all your other fire stations go dark, so don't think we're in there having hot toddies and yes.
Know that we don't have service up here when they turn off our power. Like every time I talk to them, they're like, "Aren't you getting the notification about when you'll be turning the power back on your cell phone?" I'm like, "No, I don't have any power."
Right. Yeah.
I don't have any cell phone service. And they're like, "What?"
What? Yeah.
And I'm like, "But so when you guys shut off the power, it's like, yeah, maybe it won't start a fire from your poles, but if the fire does start, you've got an entire community who maybe some who can't afford generators, without any ability to communicate."
Right.
That's an ongoing issue, and I think we're gonna really have to raise it even higher, because I've been told that they're gonna increase the number.
I mean, they should give us generators if they're shutting off our power.
Oh, I totally agree. I think there needs to be a whole, like, basically community thing with the SDE and all of the rising rates, the PSPS, like, all of it needs to be.
Because I'd love to afford a generator and have one because I work from home, so it affects my business.
No, I totally agree. We need to drill down on that.
Right. So I know that we have those effects as well. And so we know that the notification process if somebody loses power is challenging. We know that. And so, but we've had a working group, I thought it was an apple. What happened? Is that we talked about a siren concept in the community before. That was, we entertained that for a while. No, we did. Let's
still got trauma.
Yeah, so we talked about that. So maybe we're thinking of solutions. So, and we're talking about information distribution and how that's done. So I know that with our OEM partners, Kevin McGowan, he's very proactive. The supervisor's office is very proactive because it affects a lot. And the need of emergency to be prepared and informed and be not reactive to something, but to respond to it is where we want to be. Yes, sir.
So you're coming up with a national program of ranking red flags. Is there a possibility that you might start calling for evacuations on the PDRs without a fire?
So, okay. I was going to ask you that. Okay, so One thing, and the first time, is it fair to say it's the first time?
I think so.
Okay, ever, Lost Hill Sheriff Station with Captain C2, myself, and Kevin McGowan, we suggested and highly recommended that, Topanga County Elementary School, don't send the kids to school that day. And they acted on it, and they made a alternate learning site for the kids, and I can say wholeheartedly, I've probably received a half a dozen calls at my office for things. And so when I talked to a lot of the parents that we've talked up at the school about their things, different events. So that was the first time it's ever been done to where it had to be approved through, school district to make a decision. And we've been working with the school, and it goes into your question, and I'm gonna get to some other things here on that, is we don't want to populate that school with kids with no plan besides hope that they're gonna be okay in that area. Bad plan, I don't like it. We talked about, hey, how about if we stage the buses? That may work, it may not. I'd rather not deal with it, please, just so kids. So I know that in the area, when there is a red flag, can we do an evacuation order? The answer is no. But can we do a warning? And we do those warnings. So I can tell you there is a significant amount of people that when there's a red flag, they're going somewhere else. They're self-evacuating to remove themselves from the situation. Not everybody has that flexibility in their life, but a lot of people are doing it. It's becoming routine for some that they're going somewhere to do that. So just remember that if we have a fire, it's either going to be an order, a warning, or a shelter. That answer your question?
Yeah.
And then how do we feel about?
You said if we have a fire.
Uh-huh.
You said if we have a fire, it's gonna be an order, warning, or shelter.
That is correct.
I was asking if this ranking system reaches a point where.
No, I don't think we.
Without an actual fire, can't be in
Right.
order.
Okay.
No, and so just one thing when we're communicating the message to our law partners that we talk is that we know that people are leaving during red flags proactively. The presence of law enforcement becomes more robust because that's communicated. Plus, we have arson watch that's out there. We have our community brigade program that's out there now. We have I call it the fusion center at Lost Hills with all the cameras and stuff. So the presence of maintaining that security that we can, because there's a lot of opportunists out there in the world, and we know that can be a thing, and we want to make sense of that. So, yes, sir.
You mentioned that when the power goes out, you lose power. What about your radios?
It's on our hip all the time, and they will call us. Woodchuck to gray squirrel. No, I'm kidding. No, they'll call a certain, they'll call engine 69, they'll call that engine, and they have to stay up and monitor that radio 24/7.
Well, the reason I ask is, I'm like 4 houses from the station, and my weather radio does not work on any of the bands. I know that there are certain areas in the canyon that you wouldn't know that Marconi was around.
So I can tell you that not just at Topanga Canyon, our radios some places don't work either. It just doesn't, they don't work. They don't get out because of the topography. We experience those challenges all the time.
Okay, so 1 or 2 questions, and then we have to move on. We want to cover the STR, just an STR overview, even though we had to largely preempt and going into depth on that segment because of the last minute Caltrans presentation. But I do have a memo from the county on it. They just released about what they're doing in terms of enforcement in the Santa Monica Mountains and what's coming. But let's go ahead to the question. And
Well, I just want to say thank you. And I know Drew has been working on this 15 years, probably, more or less. To be able to get LAUSD to work with the fire department and be able to make these alternative arrangements for the elementary school is truly an act of God. Thank you.
I'm happy it happened because it's a model, I would hope, for the whole county and for other school districts to
preemptively keep children safe, reduce the workload and strain on, law enforcement and fire.
And the parents.
And the parents.
Well, and the learning, it's a whole psychological things for children, you have everything staged in the hallway, maybe you'll go to school, maybe you'll be in the car, maybe you're
Right.
gonna go to your aunt's house, it's quite challenging, so thank you, and I hope that can become a model.
I hope so too, because if you're working with kids from kindergarten to sixth, seventh grade, I don't think them missing a couple days because of a red flag gonna not allow them to get into Harvard.
I
think they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. So,
But it reduces the stress.
It does.
And I'm in mental health, so I think
Right
having our
thing to
kids
do.
have continuity of their learning and with their
We
friends.
appreciate the
Yeah,
support.
great.
Yes, ma'am.
I babysit my grandson. My kids went to the Topanga Elementary School when the big fire in '94 happened. So this has always been a concern to me. And my grandson loved going down to the valley. And I was very thankful that, he wasn't at the elementary school that day.
And we're working with the elementary school right now on, shelter in place procedures and just having a plan, more robust plan in place and some of the things that they can do on the campus to enhance the safety.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep all night.
Yeah.
I just want to close out on that by saying a huge thank you to our chief there, because not only has he been helping out here, but he's been helping out in Ventura County as well. We have a national expert on our hands here in LA County. And very thankful. My family lives in Las Vegas, State of Camarillo, and if you're following that fire, there's 132 homes. Walk up like 1 a.m. I'm like watching the news press because I'm worried that my childhood home's on there. And who do I see on the press conference? Our very own. He's on the case. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you've been doing, not just in our neck of the woods, but outside too. You're very well appreciated.
Yeah, okay, Lisa wants to kiss up a little more.
Well, no, I just want to say that we're gonna have a fire dinner, a town council fire chili dinner, probably January, February. So I'm soliciting our chili cooks and other people, but if folks have an interest in contributing delicious food and loving on our fire department, we're gonna be organizing some meals for all of our.
Actually, yeah, big credit for Lisa.
Lisa, are you
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
not-
talking to some of the women with the chili cook
Yes,
off?
I got all of their emails.
Yeah.
They would give them to me, so I'm gonna hit up our pie and chili for folks. I just
And,
think it's nice.
the CHP and sheriff are probably invited.
I know, we might bring you back to continue to behave. We kind of like you. No, very good, and thank you to Lisa for doing it. And seriously, she totally, she wanted to do that out of a kindness for her. It's something we used to do in the past, and, we have so much on our hands that it's one of those things that sort of fell by the wayside, and she is taking it back on. So really, I really am grateful.
All right, real quickly, Fire Sophia, your question about losing power and communication. The public is invited to the Topanga Emergency Management Task Force meetings. And this comes from the county. So if anybody, you're always welcome to express exactly that, because it's a frustration that we've all had. And we try to keep pressure on all of the different people and agencies that work on it. So please know that as a public member, attending those task force meetings, they're quarterly meetings. When's the next one?
Should be early next year. My email's on the agenda, so if you're interested, just send me an email and I will add you to the distribution, but.
We have Valerie.
And we will push it also in the town council newsletter, but yeah, it is a good idea, and I would argue we could probably stand for a little more pressure on entities like SDE. They get a pretty warm reception. I think a little more pressure would be good, so I encourage people to attend.
And can I just ask, the NOAA radio system that was rolled out with county funding, so we don't get any news on that unless there's an active one, right?
Right,
Is that
they push the button when they have to push the button. So
hopefully
things that we need to have is that radio, but also whatever platform, let's say that when we do have hard, let's know your zone. Know your zone for your schedule.
All right, I am now forcibly steering us to FTR. No, this is really great, thank you, as always. Thank you. Okay, short-term rentals, Sophia, did you want to say anything on or?
I can provide, I mean, there's not much movement, so I can say and I know I'm afterwards giving the office updates, and maybe I can just do a combined comment here, but we can start with SDR. So right now, I know this feels like this done a lifetime ago, that we went through this whole process. And then the supervisor added an amendment that did not include the Santa Monica Mountains until the Coastal Commission comes back with a decision on how it's going to be incorporated. That was based off community feedback that said we do not want to have half of Topanga more regulated than the other half and having it equitable across the board. So there was and I'm happy to get into more details. People want to go backtrack on what the STR ordinance looks like on the county side, and we can have a whole separate discussion. But from what it looks like now, I have conferred with planning. I know there's been a while, and so people are wondering where we're at. Planning has been communicating directly with the Coastal Commission on how it's going to look and how it's going to be presented to them. There have been back and forth communications. I don't have a date yet for when it's going to Coastal. I'm expecting early next year. When I have a date, we will all be well aware of that date. I've heard some concerns about retroactive, am I going to be retroactively enforced or no? That is not the case at this point. If you're needing to report something that's unpermitted, there's mechanisms to do so at this point. I know there were some notices that were sent out that it does not apply to the Santa Monica Mountains, to this area until it goes through coastal. So I will just be honest and not say I'm the world's biggest expert on all things, everything regarding the minutia of this, but if you have follow-up questions, our planning deputy, Dylan Siddiq, is very well versed and can have a discussion with you, or we can put you in touch with our treasurer and tax collector, as well as planning, who's been very much on the case with this. So that's my short and sweet spiel, but if you have further questions or concerns or just anything, feel free to email me and I'll track it down.
Really, really good. I just wanted to follow up on that. It was an excellent summary, Sophia. Really, really good. But one thing I will say is if you are doing a short-term rental, even though they're not yet enforcing the new STR ordinance here yet, what regional planning did send out was a reminder that even though the STR is not quote unquote being enforced, at the current time, none of these are actually permitted anywhere. So if an STR is behaving in a manner that's very disturbing to neighbors and whatnot, the county wants you to know, regional planning, that they still, because they remain unpermitted in the Santa Monica Mountains, they are potentially still subject to enforcement actions, but it won't be.
Well, you can get permitted in Santa Monica Mountains if you want to.
I don't.
No, you can.
Okay, all right.
You can register in the.
It's a little bit different, I know what you're saying, I don't mean to overly argue with you, but in order to actually be allowed this conditional use, you technically have to go through a conditional use process to get that. But I'm sure you can register, but it's a little different than having like the zoning planning department giving you a stamp of approval. So it's still like a zoning violation, I guess, not an STR violation. That's what
the zoning violation.
It would technically, I think at this point in time, that's what they would have to cite it under. Because if you're doing an area where you don't have a CUP for it, there's no area in the Santa Monica Mountains where you can do a B&B right now without a conditional use permit until the SDR. That's the only way you can do it legally right now. That said, the county has said they're not going to aggressively enforce unless there's an egregious perpetration, basically causing a lot of havoc in the neighborhood. Not until the Coastal Commission, then they will revisit and decide how they choose to do enforcement. If they choose to be, all in or hands off, I don't know. I think that remains to be seen. But for now, it's not being enforced under the STR. Again, it could be under zoning if you're identified as a big problem. That's not exactly like put it, but I'm paraphrasing. Big problem. Okay, any other?
Yeah, when the Coastal Commission submits their guidelines to the city or the county, whoever the planning commission is there open hearings to agree or not to agree what we want from Coastal Commission? 'Cause I used to build stuff and their meetings are all over the state. They're not like here.
Right. Good point. Excellent point. So, Paige, do you want to?
Excellent point. All right. Yes, they're open. It's all open hearing. This whole process, again, as soon as I know a date, I have stressed to planning and treasurer tax collector, they know how important this is, they know how much it's going to affect this community and our surroundings. We will be the first to know when that date happens and how we can engage public.
Good evening, the Topanga Library will be closing in 15 minutes. Library applications are no longer being accepted for today.
Turn that off.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Tiffany. Did you want me to? Yeah, sorry, okay, moving on to, but anyway, if people have specific questions, feel free to reach out to me. Transitioning over to just general county supervisor business. First of all, wonderful to be back. Thank you all for coordinating with our office. I know Daniel was here last month and you worked with Austin and everybody everybody at our office. So thank you for being so flexible with that. Some updates from us. Well, first of all, I want to let you guys know the supervisor, I believe 2 days ago, was in Malibu to celebrate the graduation of 10 of our LA County Fire Training graduates there. We have a fire training center that's now in the Santa Monica Mountains on Las Virgenes Road. It used to be Camp Gonzales. We have 10 graduates that will now be going into the fire service and working with LA County Fire and LA City Fire to see how they can advance further. I'm very excited about that. Other big announcement, Measure G has passed. So thank you to everybody that has done public comment, who has engaged on that front. That has been very exciting. And what I like to let people know as well, Measure G, which was a lot of different components on it on the recent ballot, one of them being expansion of the Board of Supervisors. But another big component that you will see first thing next year is open budget hearings for each of our departments. So with that, I know everyone follows super closely to the $46 billion that they're using for a budget. But in case you don't and you want to learn more, i.e. where our housing services go to, where money goes in the planning department, where there will have open budget hearings starting in early next year. And so I will keep everybody informed too, in case you want to join that as well. But that's exciting. There's more developments that will come through that, including an ethics commission, including, a CEO, all these other developments. That's a long-term process that I will continuously update you guys on. This is more the immediate that will be happening right at the beginning. As always, I like to plug our discretionary fund application. I know a lot of our amazing Topanga nonprofits have applied and got funding, and I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you. Of course, this is honestly the biggest priority. We have a discretionary fund application that we open for any nonprofit in our district. What I will say between us, me and this room that's in here, we give our unincorporated areas is where our priority is. That's where, the supervisor, we always say, you don't have a city, you just have a supervisor. So this funding is definitely prioritized for unincorporated. So if you're a nonprofit needing one-time fees, please go on our website. It's the easiest application you'll do if you ever do grant application. Okay, and I think besides that, the supervisor is going to be closing out her year as chair of the Board of Supervisors. So thank you all for your partnership and continued collaboration. But I think besides that, actually last point I will say, so going back to fires, sorry to end on the fire note, but for red flag days, you should not be seeing anybody from Public Works out there unless it is like absolutely critical emergency work that people could not evacuate if they did not fix the road that caved in. You should not be seeing them weed whacking. You should not be seeing trucks unless they're trucks stopped on the side with people. They could be surveilling the area, but that has been made very clear for our road maintenance side. Human mistakes happen, and I've been so grateful to the arson watch who has communicated with me if they've seen anything. Please continue to do so, but I just wanted to put that to the community that assurance. We should not be seeing Public Works folks out there doing any road maintenance work during red flag days. That's my quote. Yes.
What about Caltrans? Does that translate to Caltrans too?
I would love it. And you might be, I'm giving you a sneak peek of maybe more firm policy that the county might be embarking on to cover that exact situation. Because I'm so glad Caltrans was here tonight. Half my job with Roger, excellent advice and excellent leadership, has been trying to manage that. And there was some new information that I discovered tonight that was not previously agreed upon. So that was great to see on firsthand. But we continuously push and bring that example every time there's a red flag day, like the last one.
So Sophia, could you put that in an ordinance?
Please,
That makes
the
the
Topanga
question
Library will close
putting that
in 10
publicly. Can
minutes.
you understand?
If you would like to check
That would
items
apply to
out,
Caltrans
please do so
FTE,
now.
not just
The parking
DPW.
garage will be closed after the library hours.
Typically, legally, I think you can do it.
So right now, actually, there is nothing in any county ordinances for that, something you can point to for public works, for the county, for red flag day policy.
Right.
Public Works engages in this policy because it's the best practice
Right,
policy.
right.
But there's nothing that, because I've been in communications with Caltrans and I researched and I was like, well, what, I want to pull up saying this is what the county does, best practice. There's nothing I can point to. We're trying to A, create that thing that I can point to that says this is in writing what the county does. But B, that exact same question of what legally can we allow, can we mandate for other agencies that are working at unincorporated? We're actively working on that, and I don't have an answer yet, but I would very much like.
And stick a giant fee on it or fine, and that'll make them stop.
I
would
say guilty, but I just wanted to put that, because I've been really grateful to the Arson Watch has been out here and just engaging on this, and really, I mean, again, people are human, our road maintenance team is phenomenal, they make mistakes, they have large crews. Having Arson Watch, having community members that are flagging certain things for me has been really amazing, so.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely great, but we can't always rely on heroes.
Yeah.
Although, my God, we do. So it was good, but no, thank you, I love hearing that the supervisor is proactively getting ahead of that. Awesome, I don't know why we haven't yet, so good. Okay, last question? I do want the library to give us, because they do so much wonderful stuff. And
Okay, I'll keep it brief. For adults, I think, this will take place before the December meeting. So, the Topanga Actors Company are doing a fantasy Christmas, play for the weekend of the 14th and the 15th at 2 p.m. I know Sophia didn't mention it, but the supervisor is doing a story time here.
Very much.
On Friday, December 6th. So if you have any kids, grandkids that are like under the age of 6, please bring them to the story time with the supervisor. And then we have our Smarty Pants story time, which moved to Mondays at 4 p.m., which was a better time for that age group, so ages 2 to 5. And I'll just keep it there.
Excellent, no, always fun to hear. And Sages, any activities you guys wanted to promote right now?
We have a lot of classes going, and we have a wonderful presentation from Rosie Daggett on Oaktober. And we all learned a lot from her and her young cohorts who were quite excellent. And then really wonderful to see young people going into the sciences and having an impact. We have our big holiday dinner on Sunday, December 1st at the community house. But there is going to be helping us again as we a lot of the other dinners. And we really have a big turnout, and Lisa Villanor comes and becomes our chef again. We had a meeting last night on Zoom about Medicare. And if any of you have any questions that you're approaching or know somebody, we have a consultant who does that presentation for us. He's very, very good, and we're coming right up to the deadline for a lot of people. Come to dinner on December 1st.
What time?
3:30. And we're working all day long, so if somebody wants to come at 8:30 or 10:30 or 2.
Do you need teenage volunteers to serve?
I
Do you need volunteers
Yes.
to have service hours?
Yes.
Excellent.
We push that out for TCC.
Yeah?
Oh,
Yeah, because that would be good for teams. I mean, God, things are really happening with the Sages. Like,
Yes.
that's going on. Fabulous. Okay, anybody else have an announcement, community?
Well, I
event?
can tell you, Pine Tree Circle is going to do that snow night.
Oh, wait.
15th,
December 15th. Okay.
December 15th, I think it's Sunday, so May can just go do that again. I'm not sure what's happening with food. Bang Homegrown's going to do a party on the 6th, celebrate 25 years in business. Yeah, it's probably 29. So that'll be 6 to 8. I don't know what else, is anything happening?
But they still have like the second.
The second Saturday every month. I don't know
Yes,
if
so
they're doing
second
January,
Saturday.
but December.
December, yeah.
we're gonna do, we stay open late till 8 o'clock, there's music and food. Things like that, that's kind of nice.
All right.
You say 6 to 8?
For which one, for me?
Oh, sorry, Topanga Homegrown Party.
Yes.
Number 6,
Yeah.
6 to 8. All right, we'll be there.
There you go.
Sounds good, excellent. All right, everybody, well, this is fabulous. I'm so glad to see you all. And our next Topanga Town Council meeting will be January 15th. Have a wonderful holiday season and catch you guys out.
Also,